Greetings, everyone. My name is Michael Erlewine, and I'm going to introduce you to a powerful relocation technique that I developed back in the 1970s and that is now used by astrologers all over the world. It's called local space. Now, as I mentioned, local space is a powerful relocation technique, and it's pretty easy to understand. Just imagine that at the moment of your birth, your father picked you up and walked outside. As he looked around the landscape, he could see perhaps the sun in one compass direction, the moon in another, and if it was an evening birth, perhaps Venus, Jupiter, and even Mars in the night sky in still other directions. If we draw a line from where your dad stood toward the direction of each of the planets as they appeared at your birth moment, that line would not only pass through the planet in the sky, but also across the Earth through any number of cities in that same direction. Local space is about charting the heavenly and the earthly positions on a single map, bringing the planets down to Earth. The direction of a planet in the sky is also the direction on a geographic map on Earth. This is called local space. It's the space surrounding you wherever you are even now. If you want to read more about this, I wrote a book called The Astrology of Local Space that you can get it easily at spiritgrooves.net, but more on that later. But here's the general idea. In the local space chart, every object in the universe, both in the sky, celestial, and mundane down here on Earth, has a valid position. Not only the planets and the stars, but on an equal basis, cities, countries, and even the local water tower or a friend's house can be represented. All that we have to know is the direction in space, the orientation, not the distance. It doesn't matter what the distance is, it only matters in what direction are they. In local space, the heavens and earth, the celestial and mundane, geographic spheres, exist side by side and are in fact interchangeable. In other words, a star is a city, is a neighbor we can walk toward or write letters to or even get in our car and travel into, for instance, our Venus. And what is perhaps equally important, we're already doing this. We do it all the time. More startling yet, we can travel into our natal planets, our birth planets, since they also represent a direction on the map in the chart of local space. So here, in a hopeless intermingling of the various astrological reference planes and of objects on the Earth, a strange and, I must confess, somewhat magical view of our world begins to unfold and emerge. One in which every city, every friend becomes a radiating center of influence for us if it's in the right direction. In local space, the long tradition of witchcraft and of magic begins to become more understandable. Here, local deities and preferred directions become the rule, and the world seems like a tangle of significance. The psychedelic character in local space charts is unmistakable and even appears to be intrinsic to the system. Our world appears as a kind of grand talisman or vast ritual ground, and the closest popular image of a similar nature that we know in modern consciousness is the remarkable world of Don Juan, as generated by the author Carlos Castaneda. In local space, there is no subtle plane, but more like a personal landscape painted in bold and clear strokes, but one it's kind of like an acid trip. It's tailor-made to fit the psyche of each individual. Here is a world where the modern man or woman is learning to move across the face of the earth in an endless dance of adjustment, kind of like feng shui and tuning of their nativity, of their self. Individuals that are driven in a particular direction, unlike a checkerboard world, unable to resist traveling toward a goal that is no particular place here on Earth, so much as it is a direction that's imprinted within them, the direction of a force or a planet. To quote from Don Juan's book, "There where power hovers." In a word, here is perhaps the most direct of astrological systems, where the obvious is enthroned and the subtle simply unnecessary. If you'd like to look at your own local space, I developed this technique, and then much later I managed to write a report that encompasses it, that shows you the directions where all the cities that affect you for each planet, as well as my interpretation of what this might mean. You can find that material at astrologyland.com, or go directly to a page that's just about local space, and I'll list that here. So I hope you enjoy this, what to me is just like a fascinating technique.